Alrighty, so welcome to today's 50-50 show. We're going to be talking about the three NBA games that happened last night and some of the games that are coming tomorrow. My name is Omar, this is Omer, let's break it down. So Omer, the first game I want to talk about from yesterday, remember there were six, but three were postponed, so we only have three, but they were bangers. The Heat, who are now 20-17, beat the Trailblazers, who are 13-25, 119-98. Tyler Herro popped off for the Miami Heat, 32 points. Anfernee Simons, 28 points for the Trailblazers. And Donovan Clingan made his first debut as a starter, one of the top rookie prospects from this draft. What do you make of this game? What were your major takeaways? What did you think?
Well, first of all, on the Miami Heat end, for me, this just reaffirmed once again what I already believed, that Tyler Herro is the first option in Miami. I think he should continue to be. I really like how he's developed this year. He talked about in an interview, and you can watch his game. He's almost completely taken the mid-range out of his game. He was never a great mid-range shooter, but he's converted all of those midi attempts almost entirely into attempts at the rim for layups or three-point shots. His three-point shot is quite good. I think it's near 40% on good volume. I'm just really liking what I'm seeing from Tyler Herro, and this was just further evidence of how much he's improved and how well he's doing for Miami. I really have high hopes for him, especially with Jimmy Butler wanting out. That's more usage. That's more attempts for Herro. He can really take the reins of the team and not have to deal with this, internal tension and locker room drama with Jimmy Butler. No offense to Butler, I like him as a player, but we can't admit that with him being gone, it's clear who is now the leader of this team. Next, I want to talk about Jovic. Nikola Jovic, if you don't know him, not Jokic, Nikola Jovic. He's a forward for the Miami Heat. He played pretty well. He had a good game coming off the bench. I really like that. Once again, you see again Miami with developing their players. They're really good at that. This is another example. Jovic, I remember I first saw him 2 years ago in the playoffs. He was getting 5 minutes, not doing much. Now, a serviceable bench player, and I think he can really develop, because the nice thing, his defense is already good, and he didn't really have much of a jumper or offensive bag, but he did the little things well, so he's not a liability on offense. And this game, he showed some good shooting. I want to say 4 or 7 from 3, so he's already showing that improvement in his three-point shot. I think we got a real 3-and-D player developing there in Miami, and don't hate on that, because 3-and-D players are hard to find. You can just ask your Lakers. Next, I want to talk about Bam Adebayo. I really liked his game. Once again, we kind of saw what I always thought about Adebayo, is he's a good defender, he's a solid playmaker, and he's an all-right scorer. And the stat line, perfectly reflected that. 13 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 1 turnover. I really liked his playmaking. I think that was really great. And it was really good to have along someone like Herro, who I think he plays point guard, but he really played like a shooting guard. If you know, you know. So it's good to have someone who can handle the playmaking end of the ball. Going on the Portland Trailblazers, we all know, they're not the despondent franchise, and they've been struggling. I like and continue to like watching Anfernee Simons. He had a big night today. I want to say 7 of 14 from 3, 50%. That was really good. I like that he's shooting threes, because as we know, as a guard in the NBA, if you can't shoot threes, you're really going to struggle unless you're uber athletic. Anfernee Simons is not, but he's decently athletic. So I like that from him. That was a good game from him. I want to talk about Shaedon Sharpe. I know at least a couple of years ago, people were really hyping him up because he's super athletic. The dunks were just absolutely mind-blowing. But now, even in 2025, he hasn't really made any other strides in his game. His playmaking is quite poor. His assist-to-turnover ratio is a decimal. It's not looking good. So that's my opinion on Shaedon Sharpe and the Trailblazers. Omar, what do you think?
Yeah, so the first thing I want to say is that this loss was expected. First of all, the Portland Trailblazers were just the worst team. And then on top of that, it's like a 20-point blowout. Miami shot 48% from the field, 43% from 3, and Portland shot 38% from the field and 29% from 3. So I would say Portland was even worse than normal, and Miami was even better than normal. I think this game was probably supposed to be by 8 to 10 points. It's 20. Don't look too much into that. That's a lot of variance. Then when I look at the actual game, here's the number one takeaway, the number one thing I want to say. And this is just the straight-up truth. Donovan Clingan is the best player on the Portland Trailblazers. I don't think it's particularly close. I think in this rookie draft class, you have Jalen Wells. He's a bona fide starter on any contender you want to put him on. And then you have Zach Edey. Memphis Grizzlies obviously killed it in the draft. And then right next to Edey, I would put Donovan Clingan, which is, how the college was for them too. They were both highly looked at draft picks. So Donovan Clingan absolutely kills it. Portland had 8 more offensive rebounds than Miami. That's massive. Like, offensive rebounds are so important, and they're getting a ton of them because Donovan Clingan had 10 rebounds, 8 points, but he was 4 of 6, like highly efficient. And he's just someone I've been looking at all year because DeAndre Ayton and then Robert Williams, Time Lord, whenever they've like not played, this guy's been going crazy in limited minutes. So that's huge for them. They absolutely struck out on Scoot Henderson, probably one of the worst players still active in the league. I don't think Portland Trailblazers fans have quite caught up to that reality, but I've watched, sadly, way too much of this guy. He can barely score on bench guys, but I'll give it to you that he does seem to be able to score quite a bit. But his efficiency at the rim is really lacking. Like, I see him whiff those layups. You know, he's really fast, but it feels like his finishing doesn't match his speed. He doesn't have the breaks. His passing, he seems to only be able to do one or the other. He can pass a lot and not score at all, or he can try to score a lot and have that high usage but not pass a lot. His jumper's not there at all. A lot of turnovers, a lot of dumb passes that get turned into steals. So I'm really not liking Scoot Henderson both today and in general, really liking Donovan Clingan. And Donovan Clingan absolutely showed out with his offensive rebounds. Like, Bam had 11 rebounds, but only 3 were offensive. So Jovic had 8 rebounds, but I think only 1 or 2 were offensive. So Donovan Clingan was an absolute menace this game. Portland in general, really reckless with the ball. I think they had like 18 turnovers. Miami only had 10. So like you were talking about with Bam, in general, Miami starters had low turnovers. I think Herro had 1, yep. Bam had 1, Jovic had 2. So you're going to win games when you keep the turnovers low, even if you get out-rebounded. Then when I look at the actual players, yeah, I agree with you on Miami, by the way. Jovic is who my eyes are on because Herro, he's a known quantity. He can get streaky. He was like 7 of 14 from 3. Like, that's not sustainable for him, and I've already seen that from him. In my eyes, he's fine as a starter for the Miami Heat as a low-seeded team, but he's not good enough to actually win you anything. But when I look at Jovic, I think that's someone who's a really great piece to have on a great contract, or he can get traded to a real contender if Miami want to go the rebuilding route. Because we don't really know where they're going to go after the Jimmy Butler trade. It sort of depends what they get for him. Yeah. But Jovic had 21 points, 8 of 12, 4 of 7 from 3, 5 assists, 8 rebounds, I think 1 or 2 turnovers. And this is a guy who, like, personally, I rate him as better than Tyler Herro. And when I contextualize that rating, I guess I mean it more like this. Like, he's a really, really elite bench player, or he's a starter for pretty much any contending team. Like, think Peyton Pritchard type, right? Like, I would put Jovic, if you want to replace DeMar DeRozan on the Sacramento Kings with Jovic, I think there's no issue with that. Like, he's very versatile. 3-and-D, if that's what you want to classify him as. I also like his back cuts and like his slashing and his rim finishing. So I think he's just versatile and just very good at the game and not a cone, which is rare nowadays. So I absolutely love what I saw from him. And then, yeah, on the Portland Trailblazers, Shaedon Sharpe, terrible. Like, absolutely terrible. You saw dunk highlights 2 or 3 years ago. People legitimately thought this guy was going to be good. He shoots a lot. He's not very good at it. He shot like 17 times, I want to say. Yeah, he's 3 of 8 from 3, 7 of 20 for the game. So 20 shots and 6 turnovers. Oh. He had 60% of Miami's turnovers as one individual versus an entire team. Minus 18 rating, like absolutely terrible. And I've just never liked him. When he gets going and he makes those lucky shots, he looks really impressive. But he just doesn't have what it takes to be a starter in this league. And I don't think he has what it takes to be a bench player either, because he doesn't do the little things that you want a bench player to be able to do. Now, Deni Avdija, who they got from the Washington Wizards this year, his stat line, 15 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists. Don't love the 3 turnovers. I just want to mention him because I know he had a minus 16, so I think people might be thinking he's just part of the problem. But I think Deni Avdija is a very respectable bench player. It's just, A, he's going against starters, and B, he's spending a lot of minutes on the floor with Shaedon Sharpe. So that plus-minus, it gets influenced by that. So I still thought Deni Avdija had a good game, and in general, I think Deni Avdija is a good player as long as you're looking for a bench player, not a starter. I think Wizards players were getting a little high, fans were getting high on him because he was getting those triple doubles, and they were like, this is our LeBron or whatever. He's not that, but he's a fine bench player. And then Toumani Camara, I've really liked him ever since last year. I lost a lot of money on him because I kept taking his unders. Stopped doing that, thank God. Just a respectable game. 10 rebounds, but 7 are offensive rebounds. Like, 7 offensive rebounds is, like, to me, 14 to 20 defensive rebounds. Not all defensive rebounds are made equal. Like, Jokic gets really important defensive rebounds as one example. But in general, I think if you're looking at box scores, you have to make sure to differentiate offensive versus defensive, because each offensive rebound you can turn it back into a shot. And in general, I just want to close with for Portland, because that's the team I focus more on, and I've watched a lot of them, sadly, is for me right now. I'm talking about today. I'm not talking about potential. There's nothing like that. Today it goes Klingon, big gap. Then you've got Kamara and Denny. So Klingon is like a starter level or really good bench player already. And then you've got Kamara and Denny, respectable bench players. Then it's a big gap, and you've got Shaden and Scoot. And those guys are worse than Bronny James. I would not put them on a bench. Send them to the G League. Get them out of here. Shanghai Sharks, here we come. Ayton, by the way, Dondre Ayton, just want to touch on him real quick. He didn't play. That's why Donovan Klingon debuted. Ayton is actually one of their best players. But for me, Ayton is already slightly worse than Donovan Klingon. Donovan Klingon has way more upside, and Ayton's not a winner. He's a whiner. Yeah. I don't want him on my team. I don't want his culture in my team. Just absolutely got to get rid of him somehow, some way. I don't know who's going to take him. You remember when he was on the Phoenix Suns, I was like, no way they're going to finesse anyone into taking him. Yeah. Then the Phoenix Buns ended up getting an even worse player in Bradley Beal, but that's a topic for another time.
Wait, what the heck?
I had to take a shot at your boy.
Yeah, no way.
So
we'll get there, buddy.
That's how I would rate them, and I think you 100% need to continue playing Klingon from here on. Only issue Klingon has is he gets in foul trouble a lot, but I think you just need to let him play through it. Cat had that. Edie's having that a little bit. These young guys just got to be able to learn. You got to give them minutes. You're not here to win. And then Matisse Thybulle, that's the only other interesting player on this team. Not getting a lot of minutes. Obviously has an offensive issue, but a really great defender. He's the only other player worth noting on the Portland Trailblazers. So if you didn't know the Trailblazers, I've just told you everyone who's relevant. Anfernee Simons, I barely touched on him. That was intentional. I know he had 28 points. I know he performed well this game. And, the box score is looking good and the gameplay was looking good. But I've watched too much of him. He's a cone on defense. He literally learned. He's just a worse Dame, by the way. Like, he gives me very much like kid Dame aesthetic. He wants to take the three. He's trying to pass. He's trying to drive. He's trying to do it all. Yeah. He's just not very good at either end. I'm not saying give up on him. Keep him if you want. It could end up being like a Cade Cunningham situation. Just these young guards be growing. But right now, he is absolutely not the star of the team for me. He is not that important to me. If there's one player I want to develop, and as a fan I want to watch, it's Donovan Klingon. You've got two decent bench players, and for now, starters in Denny Avdija and Toumani Camara. I think you just hope Anfernee Simons develops. That's my big Portland Trailblazers talk. That's how I feel about them. And yeah, Anfernee Simons did well this game, but he's streaky. Sometimes he gets going. Other times he goes like 0-5, no assists, 3 turnovers, and it's like there's nothing happening there.
You raised some very good points. First, let's just talk about Scoot Henderson. Because you said like you have no belief in him, but he's only a sophomore.
Yeah, and he's trash.
Why are you like big men? They can learn to not foul. They can learn the fundamentals of defense. That's okay. But why can't Scoot Henderson be given a chance to improve? He's on the bench right now for a bad team. This is a really good opportunity for him to develop. And why I like Scoot Henderson and why I think you're jumping the gun on him is kind of really. And I like his athleticism. He has the physicals already. He's 6'4", not the tallest, but he's very fast. And I agree that the speed is he did not have the finishing control or polish to match that speed. But why can't he develop that? Russell Westbrook coming to the league wasn't that good. He was fast, athletic, known as a defender, but he improved his finishing game. He even got a midi pull-up game. So we've seen these guards be able to develop the game and improve. I think Scoot Henderson could be one of them. Because that is one thing I have with Anfernee Simons versus Henderson is Simons, he's a better shooter, but he lacks the physicals. So if he's not shooting well, we know he can't pass. He had 3 assists, 2 turnovers this game. Playmaking is not, the top priority on his mind. Why couldn't Henderson supplant him or be better? Because I think Henderson already has the parts you really can't teach, at 2021, speed, athleticism, but he can, improve his finishing, his 3-ball. And we were seeing that when he was getting a lot of minutes last season when they were trying him out. We were seeing that improvement through the season. At the beginning, it looked very bad, hard to watch. But toward the end, it was looking quite good. And finally, we saw in the offseason he was working, with Luka Doncic, Steph Curry. He's showing the work ethic that he wants to improve. So I don't understand why we have to count him out now only as a sophomore and not give him more chance to develop.
Well, one issue I have with him is that he doesn't have a shot. That's really important to me because, you're right. He has the athleticism, but he's not very strong. I think that's important to mention. That's another reason why he can't finish too well. He has to get really crafty when he goes in there, and then that requires more control and finesse. And so he doesn't have a shot, and he also seems to really require high usage. Like, when he's looked best to me is when he's against a bench unit and he is the best player on the floor, or at least perceived to be, and he just goes 3, 4, 5 times in a row and he really gets in a rhythm. He seems like the kind of guy who does not feel comfortable being on that bench player low rhythm situation. So for like, he's either gonna, everything you said is gonna happen and he might end up being a good starter, or he's gonna crash out of the league to me, because I don't think he can carve out a role on the bench unless he significantly changes his mentality. Like Cameron Payne has talked about that, right? He had like that starter level mentality. He was on the bench and he had to go overseas, get his mind right, and then he could come back and accept his new role. Because if you don't have the shot, he's had games where he has a lot of assists and he passes a lot, but they're not very high quality passes and he has a lot of turnovers. But the vision I have for someone like him is, probably like a slasher point guard who can pass, and then you move someone like Anfernee Simons to the shooting guard position if you were going to keep them on the same team. I just don't see it. I mean, hopefully it'll work out. I don't wish, like lack of success on anybody, but I guess I was more so referencing like Donovan Clingan right now is better than Scoot Henderson ever was in his rookie year or is right now. So if you're talking about developing players, Donovan Clingan already has a much higher floor and he has a higher ceiling because the foul trouble thing, right? He literally has games where he's on pace for Jokic level numbers, at least, rebounding and blocks and all that, or like Embiid numbers. And he just gets in foul trouble, sort of like Jalen Duren on the Detroit Pistons. Sometimes you'll never learn, and now it's just whatever. But Cat learned, right? Certain guys have learned. So that's what I more so meant. Like, all my attention as a GM and the coaching staff and as a fan would be on Donovan Clingan, because if you're ever going to stop just being a mediocre team, you need to get that one player, maybe then go get another in the offseason, another good player, move some guys to the bench, and now you're sort of cooking as like an 8th seed contending for the playoffs, kind of team. Scoot Henderson, to me, if he develops, like, that's another 3 years to me, because he's starting really, really low. You need a jump shot. You need to get the finishing right. Like, that's not stuff you can get done in a year, I feel. But yeah, I mean, he could turn it around. I hope he does, but I don't see it.
Okay. Yeah, I do. I think he is raw, but I think since the beauty of it of being on such a bad team is that they're not on a clock really. They have nothing going. If you're baking something and you're waiting for it to finish, the oven is off right now for the Portland Trailblazers. So while you're relaxing, okay, I say give Scoot Henderson a chance. You bring up solid points, and I'm not saying I don't see them, but my point is when you're on such a bad team, I'll keep giving him a chance to improve. I really think he can, and he's shown the work ethic, which I really liked, that he's the willingness to improve. The ball handling, the shooting. Well, he's working one of the best ball handlers, one of the best 3-point shooters of all time. Steph Curry in the offseason. So I really like seeing that. Now we're going to Miami Heat because, I got so caught up in the Trailblazers. We need to talk about you're telling me Nikola Jovic is better than Tyler Herro. What is wrong with you? That's categorically false. I like Jovic. I like him. He's a good player. I started giving him props off the rip because I know ball too. But no way he's better than Tyler Herro. Tyler Herro right now is shooting threes on volume, right? Shooting 40%.
That's his variance. He's not a 40% 3-point shooter.
How can you see his variance? He's always been a solid shooter, and he's just shown improvement.
Solid, like 38%. There's a big gap between 38% and 40%. The kind of threes he shoots, if he could actually sustain 40%, then I'd be interested. But he's a mediocre passer, can't rebound, absolute cone on defense, doesn't set screens very well, doesn't really have great hockey passes. All he's got going for him is that he can shoot.
That's good. That's important.
And that keeps you in the league. I agree. Keeps you in the league. Mm-hmm. But it does not make you the best player. Bam Adebayo is the best player on the Miami Heat. I was more so saying with Jovic, I see a progression where he could even pass Bam Adebayo. But Bam Adebayo would be a starter on any team in the league right now.
Well, because he is versatile. I think Adebayo is good, but the reason I don't have him as the first option and I put Tyler Herro is because Adebayo, his offense isn't that great. His playmaking is solid, and I think his scoring is, like, not good. As we saw in the playoffs, like, when they had to run through Adebayo, he was missing a lot of bunnies, a lot of floaters. He didn't have the strongest inside presence. He's not the tallest guy. He's decently strong, but you're not seeing him overpower defenders. So I don't really like his offensive game. If you are not that good on offense, that'll make you a Swiss Army knife, versatile on any team. But if I'm saying on the team you are on right now, the Miami Heat, I think Herro has to be better. You do bring up good points, okay?
Are we saying better or first option? Which are we arguing right now? Because to me, first option means more usage, more run. Like he puts up more shots. Better means like if we lost this player, we would be worse. If you lost Bam, this team is trash. If you lost Herro, not only is Herro not as hard to replace because Bam is better, it's also easier to go get guards than it is to go get a big. Like Bam is like, you look at the archetype of like Sabonis, Draymond, Sengun. Like, yeah, all these guys have different offensive games and everything, but
they're all better than Adebayo. Coincidentally, continue.
Are they all better? No, I think Bam is better than Sabonis, but the other two are definitely better.
You had Draymond Green sitting right there, and you picked Sabonis.
Draymond Green is the best out of those. Anyone who legitimately thinks right now Alperen Sengun has already passed Draymond Green is caught up in recency bias. Of course, Alperen Sengun has a way better offensive game. Draymond looks like a kid wearing a backpack at the court. Like, I understand that, but you have to look at the little. Like, he is the Warriors' offense. Curry and Draymond. That is what the whole dynasty was built on. I understand he's not a very likable person. Like, I want to punch him in the face too, just like Jordan Poole probably does. But you have to respect the game, man. But we're going to talk about Draymond Green at a different time. I'm saying Bam Adebayo, like you said, the playmaking, the offense runs through him because Herro is more of a shooting guard. So if you want to say Herro's, I need someone to take the last shot, it's got to be Herro. I'm cool with that, especially with Jovic being younger and just not as refined of a shooter in the clutch moments. But when we're talking best player, it's Bam. If in any given game, if the spread is -2.5 for Miami Heat, right? If Bam goes out, it's gonna get worse for Miami than if Herro goes out. That's what I mean by best player. Like, your chance of winning the game. He's not a sexy player. I get it. Homie can't even make those little bunnies like you're talking about. I agree. But he does the little things. All the screens, it's him. The defensive plays, it's him. The passes, it's him. The hockey passes, it's him. The rebounding, it's him. I agree. He just doesn't have the shooting. That's where he lacks, and that's why he can't be your main offensive output. I agree with you on that.
All right, I guess it comes down to a difference of opinion. I'm not going to disagree on the things you said. I believe Adebayo does the little things correctly. I just think you're highly, highly overestimating how easy it is to get a guard who can shoot threes on volume, give you 20 a night, and be efficient while doing it. Herro is doing all those things, and that's why I believe he's better than Adebayo. Because, yes, he's not the greatest passer or rebounder, but at the end of the day, he's a shooting guard who can put points up on the scoreboard. And I think that's it's not underrated. Like, obviously, it's the sexiest thing, but when you don't have it, you can really feel it. And the Heat would lack that if they lost Herro. Who's going to do it? Terry Rozier?
I'll tell you right now. Patty Mills. I'll trade Tyler Herro for Patty Mills from the Utah Jazz if they're throwing another good player. Right now. Right now.
So, Tyler Herro for Patty Mills and who?
Who else?
This is blasphemy.
I mean, they're not going to give me Lauri Markkanen is the issue. And then they pretty much have no other good players on their team. It's a bunch of trash. But, like, if I could get Patty Mills in draft picks, I would consider it.
That's just disrespectful.
You're just hating on Patty Mills.
I like Patty Mills. I like that Spurs team. He was cool. He's old and a bench player and just not very good.
I'll probably take, you know what I mean? I could also take Trey Jones from the Spurs if they want to give him up. And then I'll just have Duncan Robinson and them put up more shots. Like, offenses are flexible.
I love you mentioned Duncan Robinson.
Oh, I'll take Dinwiddie.
Okay,
Dinwiddie plus draft picks.
I'm going to latch on that Duncan Robinson point. I think that was really, really interesting because a lot of people talk about that, like Herro and Robinson, the two white boys in Miami. Mm-hmm. But as we saw in the playoffs, Herro separated himself from Robinson. When Robinson, he can get hot, he can shoot the three, but he is not flexible. If I don't know what series it was, but some defense locked in on him and it absolutely made him look useless. That's why he rides the bench now. He's a bench level 3-point shooter. Tyler Herro, he's showing he's a level above. He's a starter level 3-point shooter. He's just that good at shooting, creating his own shot, coming off screens, dealing with the physicality of being the first option. So, we talk about little things with Adebayo that make him so good. I'll tell you the little things about Herro that make him so good. All those things I just mentioned. Because if he couldn't do all that, then he would be getting shut down. He wouldn't be the first offensive option on Miami Heat. He's showing that he can shoot threes and all the little things you need to be able to do with it to perform.
I mean, he's like the first option on like an 8th seed in the East, bro. You talking a lot of smack for like.
I'm not talking smack. I'm just saying you're underrated. So
Dinwiddie can't do it. Dinwiddie can't do it. Dallas has been playing without Luka and without Kyrie. They beat the Lakers.
Yeah, you're a Laker because they're trash.
Well, listen,
not very good.
Listen. Cam Reddish, Max Christie. That's a whole nother topic. But Spencer Dinwiddie has quietly been putting up 15 points a game, roughly every game since them stars have been gone. He could up that to 18. And then, Duncan Robinson is because he can't be set up. He's already a liability on defense, but you need Herro more than you need Duncan. I agree on that. But Herro is a massive liability on defense. Bam is good, but he's not a Rudy Gobert. Like, it's not like one man and then you can just have 4 cones out there. So then you got to put Jovic. You got to put they mix it up. Obviously, they got Kel'el Ware at center. They got Kevin Love. They got Jaime Jaquez, right?
Highsmith as well.
Highsmith had 5 steals. So, like, they're putting these guys out not even necessarily just because they're better than Duncan Robinson, but because they need defense to make up for the Tyler Herro. Like, it's not a coincidence Anfernee Simons had 28 points. It was a guard-on-guard match. It was like, hey, man, you're calling bet, pull. You're calling bet, pull. And it's just going back and forth. And I agree, Herro won that because Herro is better than Anfernee Simons. You are not going to get a debate from me on that. In the battle of cone defense and good offense, Tyler Herro won, and he showed what I've thought. I'm just saying, I think people are riding Tyler Herro a little too much because who are you replacing Bam Adebayo with? I said some names. You disagreed with some of them. Some of them you thought were maybe okay. How about you list me some players you could replace Bam Adebayo with and be realistic? Like, you're not going to go get Alperen Sengun, right? And think of what it would take. Like, Patty Mills, you could probably get him for a bag of chips. All right, listen. That's it. End the stream right now. End the stream, bro. End the stream. Go to break.
We got another hour, boss. But yeah, we can go to break. We can go to break. I won't complain.
Yeah. All right, that was a good segment. We'll be back in like 3 minutes, guys. Just going to take a little break, refresh, and we'll be back with the next segment, reviewing one of the games from yesterday. I believe the next one, it's not the Detroit game. It's the
Memphis Grizzlies versus Minnesota Timberwolves.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
That was a banger game, so make sure you watch.
Alrighty, welcome back to the next segment of the 50-50 show. Glad you guys are with us. I'm Omer, obviously. This is Omar. Next, we're going to be talking about the Memphis Grizzlies taking on the Minnesota Timberwolves. The Grizzlies come away with a gritty, close win over the Timberwolves. I want to say it's 125 to 128. Great game. Some questionable basketball decisions, but if you were looking for excitement, and this was the game, we saw John Morant taking the game winner. It's a great game. Omar, what do you think?
Yeah, so this is a close game, and it's very much a playoffs preview, both in terms of seeding and just where I think of these teams. Neither are really the best in the West, but they're going to be in that 4, 5, 6 range, maybe as high as 3. And they've got two young players in John Morant and Anthony Edwards, and neither one really at that top echelon yet, but clearly having the potential to get there. This specific game, neither one were actually the highlights, though. The number one thing I want to point out is that Minnesota were winning for as long as Rudy Gobert was able to play. He got hit in the eye. His minutes got reduced. He didn't play much in the fourth quarter. And the fourth quarter is when Memphis made their comeback. They won the fourth quarter by 6 points, won the game by 2. Minnesota was up by 4. And even as, I think it was 8 minutes left, Minnesota was still up by 5. And that's literally because the Timberwolves shot 57% from the field and Grizzlies went 44%. And obviously some of it was just the John Morant variance. He was terrible, like 5 of 19 or something. But Gobert was doing absolutely what he had to do on defense. He did get out-hustled for rebounds. That was something you can hold against him. But I thought he was really holding it down. And then as soon as he was off the court, they just couldn't stop the Memphis Grizzlies from scoring anymore. So 14 more offensive rebounds for the Grizzlies and 11 generally rebounds. So they got more rebounded on the offensive glass than they did in general.
Memphis had tripled the number of offensive boards.
Yeah,
Minnesota did.
Exactly. And the TWolves also had more turnovers, 18 to 13. So they did a lot of bad things that wasted their variance of shooting, like 57%. You got to win those games. But a lot of turnovers, not rebounding at all. Triple J had 33 points, 8 rebounds, and low turnovers. That's the thing I want to focus on. The 33 points, this guy, he's a good player, starter on any team, but I think his offense generally gets a bit overrated, especially when it comes to that playoffs. That spin move we saw it's been a while since Memphis was in the playoffs, but LeBron, AD, and them showed once you know what he's gonna do, he really doesn't have a full offensive.
But he has
bag
improved
like
since
that. He has tried to improve
his spin
for
move
sure.
is much more deadly now than it was before.
But he still doesn't have a 3.
That's true.
I still don't see him putting up a lot of hooks. I would say those are 2 big things he's missing. But a big issue I have with Jaren Jackson is that he always has a lot of turnovers, and he doesn't even pass a lot. They're just when he's doing the dribble, right? Defenders get underneath him, and they just steal it. He probably averages 3, 3.5. So 2, that's really good for me because he had a lot of usage this game. The ball was in his hand a lot once Ja was clearly not able to get it done. So I like that he didn't choke in the turnover department. Yeah. Bane, good as always, 21 points, 8 of 14, 4 of 8 from 3. I've told you, I really think trading him for someone like Jimmy Butler is a mistake. I like his culture fit. I like his mentality. He seems like a winner. And he's just a great second or third option. Didn't love the 3 turnovers, 5 assists. That's not justifiable. But, you're going to have to take the good with the bad. I want to really quickly pinpoint on Brandon Clark. Love his game. It was near perfect shooting night from him. Amazing offensive. And he's a great defender. That's why I love it, because when you get him out on the floor, the pace slows down. He's doing quite a bit on defense, but on offense, he doesn't really do much. But he was almost perfect, and I really like that. Morant was terrible, for sure. 12 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, 5 turnovers, 5 of 19 shooting, 0 of 4 from 3. But you got to give him that respect for hitting that game-winning shot, because going to the left, off balance, one-handed floater, that's some kind of stuff that Kyrie and really only the most skilled guards do.
And once again, another guard going at Gobert and shooting a game winner over him.
No, he was not shooting over Gobert. Remember, because of the eye injury. And I feel like that was...
I'm almost sure he was attacking Gobert on that last possession.
I think
Gobert came back on.
We'd have to watch it. Well, I think he was on the floor, but I didn't feel that it was over.
It was over him, but he still attacked the paint with Gobert.
Well, yeah, but that's why you had to... So that's what I'm saying. People like you be like, man, he attacked Gobert. Yeah. Bro, if your presence forces a man to shoot a shot that it's if you saw that in the court, you'd be like, tough, bro. No way that I'm going to be blamed for defense. He just hit an amazing shot. People will blame Gobert because he's French and he did the whole COVID thing with the mics. I get it. He doesn't seem like a very likable guy. But his mere presence forced that shot, and I'm just going to give the credit to Morant for hitting that shot, not try to discredit a great defender for giving up that shot. That's just how I do it. But really the main thing I want to get down to is Jalen Wells. So he didn't pop up on the box score, but he was locking Ant down. Your guy, the guy you say I should be thankful for as a Minnesota fan, because Rudy Gobert, he was not missing a shot. He was playing great defense. We were winning with him on the floor. What was your boy
busy
Ant
getting
doing?
his eye poked out?
What was
That's
it?
Gobert,
Oh my God! Now you're blaming a man for getting his eye poked out, bro. Ant, 15 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 6 turnovers. One more turnover, and he wouldn't gotten to that decimal value of Shaedon Sharpe. Okay, he was 1 turnover away from being Shaedon Sharpe today. 4 of 13 from the field, 0 of 5 from 3. The only redeeming quality is that he went 7 of 7 from the free throw line. So he hit them all, and then he was a free throw merchant. So good job,
merchant.
Ant.
It's called leveraging the physicality.
That's the issue with Ant being the focal point of this offense is like Dante DiVincenzo, great game by him, but honestly a big reason of why he was able to pop off, if you watch the game back, he had Scottie Pippen Jr. on him most of the game. I've talked about how Scottie Pippen Jr. is the worst starter on this team. He's the worst defender on this team, and he's absolutely the matchup you want to attack. So respect to him for coming through on it, but he just got the easiest matchup. Ant got Jalen Wells. You had to see some Jaren Jackson Jr., some Bane. Like, he was getting the good defenders on him. And if he was having like a mediocre defender on him, they were always helping on him, right? That double team or quasi double team. Ant just couldn't get it done. So where do you come in on that, bro? Because to me, that's an absolute choke. Every time you don't get the softest matchup anymore, now that people actually respect you just a little bit as a player, now you complaining about double teams on national TV because you don't got it like that. Dante DiVincenzo is going to have to take over your team. Like, what are we doing here?
Okay, you're blowing this way out of proportion, okay? Even superstars are allowed to have a bad game. It happens. If you look at Ant, he was 0-5 from 3. With the way the roster is constructed, with the complete lack of spacing and offensive threats, remember, Dante DiVincenzo was a good game from him, and I like it, but he's been playing pretty poorly for the beginning of this season. So Edwards, he really relies on that 3-ball to get himself going because he has less space to play with. He showed that improvement, and people want to insult him for it, saying he regressed. But he just adjusted to his new environment, playing with Julius Randle. I think 1 of 5 from 3 this game. He had an okay game, but he wasn't doing anything special. And we'll get to his late fourth quarter CTE basketball gameplay. We'll get there. Don't worry. So I look at Ant, 0-5 from 3. Okay, he had a bad shooting night. Well, we look at the team he has. He's not shooting well. If your number one remedy, which is quite impressive, 40% from 3, for the season on a high volume, on this team with poor spacing, that's his remedy to get going. He's been doing a great job of it. The one game he doesn't, okay, yeah, he's going to struggle.
But he's been having better spacing than ever because he was playing with Mike Conley. Now DDV's in the starting lineup.
Okay, it's improved, but he still doesn't have Cat. Before you had Cat, stretch 5. You had a stretch 5. That's crazy. Triple J is getting pulled out of the paint. Now Triple J can sit in the paint, and he won DPOY for a reason. He talked about that block time with 2K.
Well, fraudulent.
Yeah, okay, that's
DPOY.
what. Of course, you would undermine another man's achievements so you can make Anthony Edwards look bad. Classic.
They're two unrelated things.
I'm kidding. But so you have a bad shooting night. With the way a team is constructed, when he doesn't shoot well, he doesn't have a lot of other options to do well. So I'm like, it's whatever. Okay, he didn't shoot that well tonight. It is what it is. I wouldn't say like, oh, now he can't be the first option. He did quite well in the playoffs. He led his team. They beat the Nuggets. Like, that's what I look at. I look at the leadership too. He was still showing leadership, leading the team, doing what he need to. And he didn't try to shoot his team out the game either. You got to remember that. He only had, I think, 15 field goal attempts. He let DiVincenzo go off. He let him do his thing. If you want to say that he was attacking the Scottie Pippen Jr. Mismatch, well, then Anthony recognizes that. He lets him do what needs to be done, and he takes a back seat because he's still absorbing defensive pressure. You're still having an impact on the game. Even if you shot all 5 from 3, they got their best defender. They got their DPOY level guy focused on you. So a role player like DiVincenzo can go off, and that's what kept the game close. So even though you say, oh, Ant had a bad game, whatever, well, his presence and what he's done is exactly what set up DiVincenzo to have a really great game, almost a triple-double, but that you have to give credit to Anthony Edwards. So then for me, so then you ask me, why did they lose? They're supposed to be a good team. And Edwards is so great. Well, first I look at Rudy Gobert.
Bruh.
No. See, he's already in defense. I haven't even started speaking about Gobert. I say the name. It's like this. It's like that.
You said why'd they lose?
It's
and then you mentioned the best player on the team.
Pavlovian.
You mentioned the best player on the team.
It's a Pavlovian response. You need to get that checked out. But anyways, I think Gobert didn't do anything wrong. It's not his fault. I got poked out. But you look at the minutes, 28 minutes. Those were essential Gobert minutes. He was getting beaten off the glass, and he was losing on the glass, which definitely contributed to the Grizzlies winning. So that's something I knock against Gobert. I don't care he got poked in the eye. He had like 4 rebounds in 28 minutes. That's low. Full stop, period. But I think when he was on the court, it definitely did, reduce the ability to convert offensive rebounds into second chance opportunities and stuff like that. So when I look at why they lost, well, part of it is Gobert didn't play his full minutes. I'm not blaming him, but it's true. That's definitely going to hurt you. And now, let's talk about, man of the hour, at least for the Memphis Grizzlies, Julius Randle. The box score was whatever, but let me walk you through this fourth quarter sequence, this crunch time, okay? Julius Randle, he turns the ball over, okay? Fouls Triple J, okay, whatever. He gets double teamed, doing more isolation nonsense, thinking he's James Harden under the hoop. And then pass it to Rudy, who misses both free throws, by the way. Your guy missing free throws. Okay. Not clutch, classic. Then after that, he turns it over his own foot. Okay, like he's just gotten this new NBA body of his. And then he turns his back on a trapped Rudy and gets the ball bounced off his back. Like we're back in middle school. They're playing around with him, okay? And then finally, he holds the ball at the top of the key for almost 2/3 of the remaining shot clock and then dumps it off to Ant, handing him a grenade with the game on the line with 1 second left.
And he did not hit the shot, right? Your boy Ant did not hit that shot. I just want to clarify. He didn't hit the shot, right? Because John Morant hit the shot. You know that shot we were talking about? 0 seconds on the clock, by the way. Buzzer beater.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Ant-Man didn't hit a grenade with 1 second left.
But John Morant did.
Okay, and Morant played trash.
That's that difference.
Oh yeah, there's one game. Morant hit the game winner. Anthony Edwards didn't. Morant is a GOAT. Anthony Edwards is trash. That makes a ton of sense.
That just shows the difference in their ability. Both had a terrible game. Both got locked down by the opposing defenses. One guy clutched up for his team. One guy wanted it. The other guy, you know what it is.
Okay, but if you look at the way the play developed, it was clear the Grizzlies had a plan. The ball got to Morant, and he knew what he wanted to do. The Minnesota Timberwolves looked like they had like a chicken with their head cut off. They didn't know what they were doing. Like I said, CTE basketball.
Because Ant isn't a good leader of the team.
Because Randall is the MVP of CTE basketball. Okay? They didn't have a clear plan, and that's why Ant Edwards had to shoot a grenade at the three-point line. Remember, they were down 2. They could have set up play, had Edwards shoot a midi, which he loves, and he's pretty good at it, actually, if you watch him play. Could have gotten a midi, could have gotten him a drive to the basket. You know what? I'll take Ant Edwards on Triple J. I don't care. Okay, like you said, Triple J, he's a fake DPOY. So then why didn't anyone think?
Ant is a fake offensive player.
Come on, man. Bro. That's disrespectful. So give the ball to Ant and let him work. I would have much preferred that, because at least if he missed that shot at way different circumstances, and he would have missed on his own merits. Instead, I had to watch Julius Randle pull a J.R. Smith almost, and then, tell Ant, like, yo, bro, you got this. Like, my bad. He'd say, my bad. I shouldn't have held the ball like that.
But the reason Julius Randle's taking over is because Ant has 6 turnovers. Like, I agree. Julius Randle is not good enough to be making – I'm with you on that. Like, as a Minnesota fan, that's why this is so much of a problem. Now that we don't have Cat, our best offensive player is Ant. I can't even debate you on that. The issue is – he's not good enough.
How can you say that? Because he had one bad game and you say he's not good enough.
No, because like you said, the bad part is the shooting, right? Mm-hmm. Normally he'd be hitting the threes. Mm-hmm. What's consistently been happening every game this season, though, is he averages 4, 5, maybe 6 assists tops. We're really in the 4 to 5 range. And he's getting 3-4 turnovers a game. His assist to turnover ratio is absolutely terrible. And he's not very good at hockey passes either. Like, that's why we had to keep playing Conley, because as Conley gets older, Ant needs to step more into that point guard role, point forward role, if you will, and he's absolutely terrible at it. That's the issue we're facing. Like, I agree with you on the Julius Randle thing. Ant had 6 turnovers before that. Realize that. Like, basically the team had said, like, yo, bro, Ant, don't give him the ball. Like, he's looking trash. Ant probably himself was like, all right, bro, y'all take over. And then the issue is y'all let Julius Randle take over, and he's terrible. I agree with you, but it starts from Ant. Accountability has to start with the best offensive player. You can't have a ratio of 1 on assists to turnovers through 3.5 quarters and then get mad when your mediocre second best offensive player does something and is bad at it.
So
that's the thing for me.
Okay, you can blame it on him and say it's a leadership issue. Then I'll say maybe it's a coaching issue. Maybe it's Julius Randle's issue. Maybe because we weren't there. Julius Randle could demand it for the ball. Maybe the coach lost faith in Ant himself, which is obviously a mistake. Memphis didn't do that. They didn't care that John Morant was stinking it up. They got him the ball and let him go to work. So
you really think the coach lost faith in Ant?
I'm just saying we can't be sure why it happened. I'm just telling you what I saw, and what I'm seeing is I know what I saw. With Julius Randle, he screwed up.
No, for sure. That last 2 minutes was terrible.
And then I want to talk about the playmaking thing because I do appreciate you bringing up playmaking because a lot of the discourse around Anthony Edwards has been straight up wrong, but his playmaking is a bit of a struggle. But thing is, we keep moving the goalposts, okay? We keep putting higher and higher standards on this young man when we should be celebrating his three-point shooting. He is literally Steph Curry with a 40-inch vertical. I said it, and it's not controversial, okay? He's shooting about 10 threes a game at a 40% clip. He's leading the league in three-pointers made while playing with an okay offensive roster. We know he has a 40-inch vertical. We know what he does to the rim. It should be illegal in some states. This is a revelation how well he's shooting from three. He's playing really good offensive basketball. I agree that playmaking should improve, but I'm not going to hold him to it because he's already taken a big leap this season in the three-point shooting, okay? You need to get him a playmaker. Randall should have been a better playmaker. Mike Conley, that has been really unfortunate for the Minnesota. I will give that to you. Conley he's taking a steep drop.
Because he's elite. When
He's solid and he's a great passer. He's solid and a great passer. I will give you that.
He's elite.
But this year, defense is down, passing is down, minutes are down. He's just struggling. Shooting down everything. Yeah. Cause as we know, all the best passers, they leverage their scoring ability to pass. And Conley was doing that even, at like however old he is, super old.
Okay, but on the moving the goalpost thing, that's exactly why I feel like I have to critique Ant because I liked Ant. If you're a Minnesota fan, of course you liked Ant last year and even the year before and just how he was talking and how real he is. But if people are going to get here and tell me that my team has a top 10 player or something.
Which he is.
He's not a top 10 player.
He's a top 10 player.
There's a gap between him and John Morant. And then there's like.
No way.
Like, see, the fact that you're saying that, like, you don't get to say Steph Curry is not just a 40% three-point shooter. Ant is complaining about double teams. Curry lived on double teams. He ran a marathon just trying to get out of the triple teams, maybe slightly beat the double teams, get that ball and shoot it. Like, that's the difference. Ant is, on an offensive level, man, or just even as a total player, he's closer to Derek White than he is to Jason Tatum. Let's get that right.
What is this brother saying?
Derek White is a 40% three-point shooter.
Okay, but the threes Derek White is shooting, not the threes Ant.
Derek White is doing pull-up, like, deep threes.
Bro, he's playing off Jason Tatum. Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. They are not playing the same game at all.
Bro, they are. They really are.
Ant-Man is creating for himself, creating his own three ball. Okay, D.Y. he's catching the shoot like,
okay, yeah.
But JT, thanks for getting that double team because you're always getting doubled. I'm right here.
But think about all the other things. Derek White's a better defender.
Yeah, I'll give
Derek
you that.
White has way less turnovers. I would say Derek White is just objectively better at passing. Like when you watch them pass, Derek White.
They're both whatever passers.
Derek White's a better rebounder. So it's like even
different roles.
Different roles. But like that's what Ant is not special. Not right now. He isn't. Wemby is better than Ant right now. Wemby is better than Ant right now, and he has a better trajectory.
We can't talk trajectory with the alien.
Sure, but that's my issue with Ant. Rudy Gobert is the best player on this team, and no one wants to talk about it. And Cat was better than Ant, and I understand we traded Cat away because if you think Ant, Cat is older, so it's like Ant is a little bit worse, but Ant can be better. I'm cool with that. But I need people to stop telling me that I have a top 10 player right now. I don't even have a guy better than Jalen Brunson right now. And yeah, as much as I'm a fan of Rudy Gobert, I agree. Homie's a cone on offense. Like, he goes 4 of 4, 8 points, but that's all he can do. You can't ever ask him to do more than that. But, so that's like, I'm going to come off as a hater of Ant to some people. No, it's like, people are moving the goalposts. I'm not moving the goalposts. I'm critiquing based on those goalposts. I think Ant's like in his third year. I want to say maybe fourth year tops.
I think fourth year.
He's absolutely fine for a fourth year. But if you're going to start saying top, people compared him to Tatum. People compared him to SGA. People were making all kind of crazy comparisons. He is not in those guys' tiers. Tatum, SGA, Wemby, like LeBron's over Ant. AD's over Ant. Like, that's all I'm saying. So I feel like I'm not moving the goalposts. I understand. I'm a fan that he's doing that three. I am not one of these old heads like, he's got to get in the paint more. My name is Chuck and I know basketball. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. It's just like, you can't tell me when I watch this guy that I actually have an SGA. SGA, you know what he does
SGA
every
is
game?
top 5.
30
though.
points.
He's top 5 though.
You were just saying Ant is top 10.
Top 10. They're the echelon in top 5 and bottom 5.
What Wemby? Okay, is he better than Wemby? Because I don't even have Wemby in my top 10. But is he better than Wemby? No trajectory, no nothing.
I think he's better than Wemby. Yeah.
Bro, he said he's better than Wemby.
Wemby does. Okay, chill out. Wemby
Is he better than Brunson? Let me ask you actually a better question, because I don't think you're gonna have to say no. Is he better than Cat, the guy we just traded away?
He's definitely better than Cat.
You think he's definitely better than Cat?
Yes.
Bro, you've been on Big Purr
ever
since he got to New York.
No, I love Big Pro. I love the change he's made, but I still think Anthony Edwards is better.
Yeah, see that if you're gonna say that, then I get to critique him on Cat, Jalen Brunson, and Wemby standards.
Yeah, no one talks about Cat's playmaking. We're just glad he's not softy anymore.
If Cat had 6 turnovers and got completely iced out of a game, I guarantee you the entire New York's media would be on him. If Wemby had 6 turnovers, bro, the only reason we don't get on some of Wemby's terrible offensive games, because he can go get 22 rebounds. Ant can't do that.
Well, Wemby is 7'3", is a different game. He is good at defense.
That's reality. That's reality. Like, that's my thing with him.
But I just
But you're looking to blame Julius Randle more. You feel like Julius Randle was at fault.
Yeah, because he's not. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I give you a play-by-play of how we screwed this team over and just.
No, for sure. But my thing is, like, Julius Randle is the worst player. You are right in that Julius Randle cost us at the end. But if this guy's supposed to be the guy, you can't have 6 turnovers and make it to the point where, like, if the coaching staff did lose faith in him, if the team did lose faith in him, whose fault is that? The team and the coaches, or Ant for being trash? That's where we're really debating on. You're saying, like, they should have just had faith. Like, Memphis had faith in
Ja Morant.
had
faith in Ja Morant. Even after he became Ja Wick, he came back. He's back on his basketball thing. They still put trust in him.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
Why can't Ant-Man get the same treatment?
Ant's just been looking rough. I didn't forget that Atlanta game, 7-20 in front of his grandpa. That's the only NBA game his grandpa ever saw of his. And you put that up against the Hawks? Dude, come on. The Hawks defense. Have you seen it?
I mean, yeah, I have seen it.
That's embarrassing. Dante DiVincenzo was probably the best offensive player last night.
Yeah,
how does that make you feel? How does that make you feel?
It happens.
How does that make you feel?
I feel nothing because it happens.
Yeah, I'm just not. I'm not feeling Ant-Man. I'm not feeling Ant-Man. I feel like the team was winning with Rudy Gobert on the floor. As soon as he gets injured, yeah, you're right. You have to mention that. But why is the game even close when we're shooting 57% from the field? Because of the 6 turnovers. We have 5 more turnovers. Like, the difference in turnovers between the Grizzlies and Memphis. Remember, Ja Morant had like 5 turnovers too. And we just, as a team, had more turnovers. I felt like Memphis carried Ja and supported him, whereas Minnesota, maybe because they're a younger team, maybe just the way Ant talks, but I feel like the team followed him more.
I think it's just
and
Memphis has a better team. Desmond Bain smokes Julius Randle.
Team? Yeah.
Bain smokes Julius Randle. Triple J versus Gobert. Gobert is definitely better at defense, but Triple J dropped a 30-piece. Okay, no one on Minnesota. Okay, didn't even check out a good game, but
Gobert is better than Bain and Triple J.
Combined?
No, not combined. That'd be ridiculous.
Okay, then what are you trying to say?
Because you were trying to say Triple J is close. I'm saying, like, Bain is better than Triple J, and Gobert is even better than that.
No, I think Triple J is definitely better than Bain, bro.
That's crazy.
Okay.
That's recency bias, guys. If you put up a 30-piece with some spin moves, people will start calling you the next Kobe.
No, he's been playing well all season. He showed improvement, more control of the ball, more polish in his offensive game.
But what's Bain lacking? What's Bain lacking?
Bain is just good. Like I said, he's very consistent.
No, elite.
Is
Derek White good?
Yeah, Derek White's good.
See, you're just hating on the role player kind of.
I'm not hating on him. I'm just saying, like, there's a level. He consistently gets there, but he'll never get past there. I think Triple J, he's already shown he's above that level.
No, Triple J has never even hit that level.
Bain's a great third option. Triple J, the second option. Moran needs to get better.
If Triple J is your second option, Memphis will never win. I will stamp that. Triple J will never win as a second
Triple J's been their first option with Ja Morant dealing with injuries, and they're third in the West. So tell me about that.
He's been their first option offensively.
Yes.
But Bain's been their better player.
Okay, he's also been the first option defensively. He anchors that defense.
Not really. I don't believe in that whole. I think he has great teammates. Honestly, I never understood why he won that DPOY.
Because he plays good defense. That's why.
It's not even close between him and like Rudy Gobert or Wemby.
I mean, Gobert and Wemby can be in their own level, but they're really good. My biggest issue, Triple J is worse than them is not an insult.
And my big issue with Triple J's offense is like he needs a rhythm. He's pretty inefficient. He doesn't have a 3. Desmond Bain, amazing 3-point shooter. He's clutch. That's another thing. In the playoffs, I saw something in Bain I did not see in Triple J. Triple J got punked. AD showed that boy. AD showed that boy.
I mean, AD, he's a good player. And he was, that was 2 years younger, too.
No one punked Bane. LeBron went at him, but no one punked Bane.
Oh, yeah, AR-15 on the defensive end. He's going to punk that. He didn't punk nobody. D'Lo don't punk nobody. AR-15 don't punk nobody. The Lakers just don't have that good of guards.
Bane was driving.
Okay. I mean, still, if he has an absolute cone in front of him, he can still look good against AD.
Okay.
Triple J's primary defender was AD. So if you want to go back in history, 2 years, 2 years. A lot can change in 2 years, and Triple J's gotten better since then. It's just true.
Bane or Triple J? Who is the second best player on Memphis? You can, because we're not talking usage, right? You're saying JJJ is better.
Yeah, I think JJ.
Who's better, Triple J or Bane? Because we're assuming John Morant first. If you don't think that, you're tripping, right?
I mean, Morant needs to be.
Today option. He wasn't, but in general.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, no, I think that's. We just disagree. You
want
to blame Julius Randle. I'm blaming Ant. Rudy Gobert, I think we both agree, pretty useful, but you're just sort of. You're mentioning the eye
stay on the
thing.
court.
Yeah,
if you stay on the court, I think we have a different result, and then you couldn't be hitting on my boy Ant like that.
And you think Ant is top 10 and better than Wemby. So I'm going to call a mental hospital real quick. We're going to have to go to a 3-minute break, guys.
I stand on that.
All right, we'll be right back. Alrighty, welcome back to the 50-50 show. For our next segment, we're going to be talking about the Pistons versus Raptors. The Pistons, 20-19 now, have only lost one game in 2025, have beaten the Raptors, 8-31, a tanking team, 123-114. Cade had 22 points, 17 assists, 10 rebounds for an impressive triple-double, but also had 8 turnovers, almost getting the famed quadruple-double. Omer, talk to us about this game where the Raptors shot pretty poorly, 43% from the field, and the Pistons were okay, 52%, but the Pistons shot 58% from the three, whereas Toronto also shot pretty well with 42%. What do you take away from this game, and really, what do you take away from Cade's performance and just the surge that the Pistons have been on for 2025 and a little bit of 2024 at the end?
First, I just need to acknowledge how bad the Toronto Raptors are. The Pistons won while committing more turnovers and getting less offensive rebounds. Usually those are key signs of when a team's about to lose. You get less attempts, you give up easy points, and even the Raptors couldn't capitalize on that. Now let's talk about Cade Cunningham. This game, once again, he was showcasing how much he's improved from last season. Once he's shown improvement in his driving game, his ability to finish, his shooting. I think he was 50% from the three-point line this game. Not expecting that every game, but it's a sign of his improvement. 10 rebounds is really good. I don't think that's got to be a outlier per se. 10 is high, but 7, 8, because he's a 6'6" point guard. Yep. So he can definitely continue to be getting those boards and help his team out in that way. Especially, we always say with guards, most guards are bad at defense. If you're a guard good at rebounding, that ups your defensive prowess because the defensive board you got is one less you're giving up to your opponent. Let's talk about the assists. The 17 assists is great. I think it's still showing that he's improved as a playmaker. Getting 17 assists is impressive. But I'm not going to be like, he's like better than Halliburton or anything like that in terms of playmaking. Because, he did have 8 turnovers. That's honestly not a great ratio when you look at it. So that's where I come down on it. 17 assists is cool, but the 8 turnovers makes me think, okay, it's not that impressive. Because turnovers is a really big deal, especially when I look at a playmaker. It's when you turn the ball over, that means you're not throwing the right pass. You're getting stripped. The defense is reading you, stuff like that. And I think it'll only improve because he's still pretty young. So it's not like I'm hating on the assist and playmaking performance, but it's maybe not as good as the 17 assists would lead you to believe. Next. I give most of the credit to this Pistons resurgence. They're over 500. Other 500 are just a bit over for the first time in so long. And it's because of Cade. It's because of his improvement. Because 2 years ago, he had that shin injury. He was looking good. Last year, he was playing all right. People were riding him, but he was okay. This year, he's really coming into his own, being a real star, being a real viable first option. So that was great to see from Cade. Obviously, there was some variance, the high 3-point shooting percentage, but I wasn't really on Cade. We saw with Tim Hardaway Jr., 7-8 from 3. That's, monster shooting. Tobias Harris was solid. That's one thing I do want to talk about in terms of last year's Pistons being, a joke of a franchise. This year, at least being average, which is, for that city is great. Is the pickup of Tobias Harris, because now they no longer have to start Isaiah Stewart, who, he's not much of a basketball player. So Tobias,
good MMA fighter, though.
Yeah, I'm sure he would be. So Tobias Harris, he raised the floor for that team. Hardaway Jr., I think Jaden Ivey was starting, but he was sharing minutes with Hardaway Jr., what I think was good because Hardaway Jr. is a good veteran presence. And then now let's go on to the Raptors. I'm actually really disappointed with what I saw from Scottie Barnes, not because he shot poorly. I think he shot 1 of 5 from 3. I actually wish he shot more, okay? And you'd be thinking, what? Why? He didn't want to shoot his team out the game. Thing is, this team, there's no game. They're a tanking team. They don't plan on winning that many games. I want as much development being directed towards Scottie Barnes as possible. Emmanuel quickly taking 20 shots is unacceptable. He's 7 of 20. He is not that good of a scorer. I know some people think he's underrated. No, he's just not good. The plus minus, I think, like negative 24. He's not good at defense either. You can't defend. You can't shoot. Why is he being given the ball to shoot? Why is he even being given the ball? I want Scottie Barnes to shoot more shots. Last year, he was an all-star. This year, I saw him shooting more threes as the season begun. I was really happy about that because his percentage wasn't that great. But the increased three-point shots showed a willingness to improve his game because one of his weaknesses was a lack of a three-point shot. But I didn't see that game. I was really disappointed. And then RJ Barrett, I don't have any belief in him. I have no faith in him. I think he's not very good. New York got lucky. They got Jalen Brunson because they had their franchise's future and hopes pinned on RJ Barrett. That's crazy to me. He was 0-8 from 3. Nothing in his game makes me think, oh, he'll get really good at driving or finishing or shooting. He's kind of mad at everything on offense. And then also he's bad at defense. I don't know if it's because he was the first option on New York or the second option for some time. He thinks he didn't have to play defense or what's going on in that guy's brain. But he is not good at defense and he's nowhere near good enough at offense to justify it. So for me, the Toronto Raptors, I want Scottie Barnes shooting more. I think he can really be something in this league and really improve, but he needs to take the shots, he needs to take the reps. If he's not and he's gonna shy away from that, he won't grow in anything past a fringe all-star, which is, I think his potential is way higher than that.
Yeah, it was a pretty interesting game. I agree with some things, I disagree with some. Let's start with the Pistons. I think the most important reason that the Pistons have started winning, this very, very hard to index into, is that Jaden Ivey is now injured.
Oh.
So that addition by subtraction thing?
Paul George.
Yeah, Paul George. That it wasn't true there. But Jaden Ivey is one of the worst players in the league. And the fact that he was a starter on the Pistons, that's great when you're trying to tank. But if they're actually trying to turn it around, yeah, it's terrible. Tobias Harris, I 100% agree with you. He could be a starter on pretty much any team in the league. And then you take Jaden Ivey out. Tim Hardaway Jr. is okay. Yeah, but I think it's just that Jaden Ivey, he's legitimately like a Washington Wizards level player. And it was fine to have when the Detroit Pistons were a Washington Wizards level team. But if you want to be the 8th seed, when he comes back, they need to bench him. And if he throws a hissy fit over it, dude, do anything to not bring him into the lineup because he has no development. There's no potential. I don't care what copium that the Detroit Pistons fans have been taking. Jaden Ivey is not going to pan out. There's nothing there. Please keep him off the floor. I want to give a lot of respect to Cade Cunningham. People have been on him, and I've always thought that people were wrong. I've never thought he was quite that good. Really high turnovers to assist ratio. Not like he really fixed that, to be honest, but he's fixed a lot of other things.
Yes.
So, I really do want to shout that out because honestly, that whole development thing, it's a bit of a joke. I consider it a bit of a meme. Most players don't develop. If you start bad, you can only develop into like mediocre at best, and therefore the development didn't really matter to me. I thought Cade Cunningham started okay, and I never really thought he'd get beyond okay, but I would say he's definitely a starter on a lot of teams at this point. I have him right around the Aaron Fox level. Like if you're a guard for anywhere between like a 10th to 5th seed or 4th seed, and you're like a high usage player, Cade is comparable to a lot of those guys. He's obviously still worse than Halliburton and the other elite guards, but much respect to him because
Are you saying De'Aaron Fox is not elite?
Yeah, but we'll get to that at a later time. But I just want to give much credit. I want to make this more about Cade Cunningham. Like I'm actually trying to give him respect. Like he's good now, and I didn't think he'd get to this point. For the rest of Detroit, I've already talked about Jaden Ivey. Yeah, I agree. Tobias Harris, I had as their best player by far for the beginning of the season. As I mentioned, I've had Cade coming up and up. A lot of guys at this point would probably say Cade's just better now. Yeah. I'm still not quite there, but when I look at the trajectory, probably in a month or two, if he keeps this up, I will be forced to say Cade is their best player. But for now, today, for winning, Tobias Harris.
You can just say it now.
Remember, the guy did have a ratio of 2 for assist to turnover. Like that's a really big deal for a point guard. You really want a 3 or a 4 if you want to be having such a high usage rate in terms of passing. Like I don't want a ton of passes coming from a guy who has a ratio of 2. He still needs to clean that up if he wants to be getting to Tyrese Halliburton level. But I've liked his driving improvements. I've liked his shooting improvements. He's looked a little better on defense. I'm just seeing a lot of little things from him, which is rare to see in the NBA. Like that cannot be understated. A lot of people be having hopes for players, but it almost never pans out. Cade looks like he might just be panning out. Which is huge for Detroit because that city's a mess. And then Jalen Duren, I just want to touch on him real quick. He was dominating the game as he does often, but the foul trouble, man. He had 5 fouls and just got taken out of the game. That's a big issue. I was talking about Klingon earlier with the foul trouble. Remember, he's a rookie, so you can try. Duren, this is a consistent issue throughout his whole career. He needs to learn how to stay on the floor. Otherwise, he's going to have to get moved on from at some point because not only he can't stay on the floor, remember, you're giving 5 fouls. Like, you're giving the opposing team points. So all the value of those rebounds, some of them being offensive, it's getting wiped out and it's making him look like just a bench player, like not really that good. He's one of those, like foul trouble is one of those things where it's like, okay, you could have the talent to be a starter, but you gave them so many points. Now any model and any eye test is like, bro, you lost more than you gained. So you're a bench player. But if he could fix that, he could be really good. But I don't know that he's going to fix it at this point. But that's really all I have to say on Detroit. I think they mostly just won because they got really lucky from three, 57%. If Tim Hardaway Jr. misses a couple more threes, this game's back to being close.
It'll be close, but they did win by 9.
Sure,
so.
yeah. But I want to talk about Toronto. I think there's some good stuff there, some bad stuff there. First, we'll just talk about the agreement. RJ Barrett, trash. I agree. He had 10 points, 4 of 16, 0 of 8. I never liked him on New York, never liked him Toronto. I think he's a bench-level player who has a lot of ego, puts up a lot of shots, doesn't play defense. 100% agreed with you. Emmanuel quickly, massively disagree. I think he's a really good point guard. I think the only reason New York moved on from him is that Jalen Brunson's even better, and I don't think anyone's debating that. But Emmanuel quickly could be a starting guard on pretty much any team in the league for me. Yeah, I agree he had a bad game this game. That's not what I'm really going to argue about. 7 of 20, how the heck am I going to defend
and he
that?
played bad defense too, so...
Well, he did okay on defense, but he's never been a great. He's never been a great.
Yeah.
But what's his team? You were making that argument. Who were you making that argument? You were making that argument for Ant for why it's justifiable to have almost decimal level assists to turnovers, terrible shooting, just an utter embarrassment of a performance. His team is way, way, way better than Toronto.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm mainly justifying the Emmanuel Quickly game. It is so hard for him to play, and he still manages to shine. RJ Barrett, absolutely terrible. And the main thing I want to talk about is Scotty Barnes. You want him taking more shots. You want him to develop. Yes. I think Scotty Barnes is not good. I think he's even worse than what I had Cade Cunningham at before. So if he manages to surprise me, it's going to be an even bigger
He's already
upset.
quite good on offense. If you actually look at it, his defense could use some work, but already at his current offensive state, it's pretty good.
Yeah, no, I just find him terrible in every way. This game, he had 16 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 5 of 14, 1 of 4 from 3, 5 of 6 from the free throw. That's good for him. But I don't find him to be a particularly great shooter. I don't find him particularly great at the rim. He can get quite a bit of assists, but he has a high turnover ratio. I don't like his defense. Don't like his setting of screens. He gets rebounds, but not really offensive, mostly defensive. And I just think he's greatly overrated. I'm not high on him at all. Actually, the only player from this game that I want to shout out is Chris Boucher.
Oh. Yeah, he was good.
He was 14 points, 5 of 6 from the field, 4 of 5 from 3. He was +4 in a 9-point loss. And obviously, that's just one game sample size. But in general, I've been a big fan of him. I think he's an elite bench player. He could be a starter. If you want to make him a starter, you can do that. That's no problem. But he's an elite bench player. And I think some contenders should look to see if Toronto will trade him away. They might not, because from Toronto's perspective, here's what I think is happening. When they traded OG Anunoby, right, to New York, RJ Barrett was please take this guy off our hands. He's trash. I think they traded Emmanuel Quickly for OG Anunoby because they're similar level of players. I think New York agrees with me, by the way. You think Emmanuel Quickly is trash. I think they did that trade because they said, we'll give you a starter-level power forward, small forward, great defensive player, but doesn't really mesh well with Scotty Barnes and what we're doing here. We need a guard. So they got a good guard for a good forward. So at this point, from Toronto's perspective, I think they believe they have a starter-level point guard and a starter-level small forward, whatever you want to call Scotty Barnes. So I'm curious where they're going to go from here, because in my lens, all they have is a guard. They don't have a Scotty Barnes. That dude ain't doing nothing.
They have a small forward. They don't have a point guard.
Yeah,
see, flip.
I disagree, but I'm curious where they go as we approach this trade deadline, because they could try to get another good player, maybe like a center, because they have, like I said, Boucher off the bench. I think Kelly Olynyk's not bad. They got a couple of decent bench players. Do they try and build something now and maybe try to ship RJ Barrett off, or are they going to give up something and continue building? Like, I'm really curious where they go, because from my view, this team is in no man's land. But I wonder if they think they're doing really well, because if they think they have two good players,
well, they're tanking.
But what are they building towards, right? Like, when you're tanking, the idea is probably get draft picks and then build around Scotty Barnes. Yeah. I think a year or two ago, most people were saying that as a viable option. I have now seen another year or two of Scotty Barnes. I've got the data on Scotty Barnes. Since I don't think he's good, I really wonder where Toronto's at. Do they agree with me? Do they know ball? Do they think I'm crazy? And I think they rate Emmanuel Quickly pretty well. Like, you don't, but I don't think you make because that trade doesn't make sense if you don't think Emmanuel Quickly is pretty good, because they didn't get much out of it. I don't think they got a lot of draft picks out of that one. Like, Mikal Bridges got way more draft picks than OG got. And my only justification for that would be, you thought, we're getting a pretty good player in Emmanuel Quickly. We'll take the RJ contract off y'all hands.
Yeah, I don't know if I would use the Knicks franchise evaluation of talent as support.
And that's a fair counterpoint. Like, maybe I'm just wrong and the Knicks or the Raptors. Well, no, I'm talking about the Raptors. Talent evaluation. And I think, remember, this is the same franchise that took that 1 year in Kawhi, because Kawhi was just one of the best players that season. Like, you remember how much I was glazing Kawhi.
Yeah, I know.
I've aligned with the Raptors quite a bit, which also makes the Scotty Barnes evaluation sort of interesting. I know. I just don't think he's that good. And I'm not looking at just as one game. Obviously, his passing was way worse than normal. His shooting was trash. But in general, but maybe it's because of the injuries. I'll give you that. Maybe maybe Toronto's like, let's get him uninjured. Let's get him some reps.
Yeah, remember, he was injured for quite a bit
Yeah.
of the beginning of the season. As I know, he's on my fantasy team. I suffered with him.
That's the only thing I can give you is if you think the injuries are holding back his true potential, because otherwise, I don't see a lot happening in Scotty Barnes. Like, I just don't see it for Toronto. That's my main takeaway is you either trade Emmanuel quickly to a contender and you figure something else out, or you go get someone because you actually are delusional and think Scotty Barnes is good. Or what else do you do? Just nothing and just keep sitting on everything? I don't really know. And then Chris Boucher. Chris Boucher is the main guy I want to reference. Is someone going to trade for him? I'm sort of curious on that. I would be happy to take him on the Lakers bench if I could trade I got a really good player, Cam Reddish, highly elite, physically talented, great haircut.
Even the Raptors aren't that foolish.
If you're gonna continue tanking,
even they're not that crazy.
If you're gonna continue tanking, just take Cam Reddish off our hands. Give us Boucher.
Bro just said, yeah, just actively make your team worse. You guys are already losing. Like, what are you gonna need that guy?
Isn't that what a tanking team does?
No, they're tanking just fine enough. They can hold on to Boucher when they get a real roster on my boy Barnes. I think your critique of Barnes is unfounded. First of all, he had a fantastic driving game. I like his ability to get to the rim and his finishing. That's my favorite part about his scoring bag, and it's been pretty effective. Even since last year when he was All-Star. And then his passing is what I like. I know his turnovers are high, but he's showing a willingness to pass. He's trying to in those turnovers, you can see he's trying something. He's trying to read the defense, read the second line, not even looking at his guy, looking at the help, finding the right guys. And that kind of gameplay is exactly what you need to elevate as a playmaker. Even Kobe Bryant, Kobe Bean Bryant, he never saw a shot he didn't like. Even he talked about how he didn't look at his defender. He was always looking to help and how to manipulate that. And Scotty Barnes is doing that. He's attempting to. He's not doing the greatest job of it. But
Did you just compare Scotty Barnes to Kobe Bean Bryant?
I'm talking about how to read a help defense, okay? Don't throw my words out of context. No.
It's just sort of crazy.
You can leave that to NBA reporters. Anyways. So I like that. For example, even my boy Ant, I'm going to shoot some friendly fire. He's someone you don't really see read the second line. He's the kind of guy he drives. Like, oh, no, I can't shoot. Pass. Who's open? He's trying to hit him, right? And so that's why his turnovers will be low, except rarely when it's not. But his assists will never be that high. Barnes is showing a higher ceiling with his playmaking, even if the floor is lower because of the high turnovers. If he can eventually lock in on his reads and really figure out these NBA defenses and the help, I think he could be really good. He could be, if he's a good passer with the driving threat he's already shown, and he's making efforts to improve his three, I'm not just like, a hopeless optimistic, right? I'm not every player can get better. I'm seeing things in Barnes that, if allowed to develop, could really grow into something really good. And that's why I want him taking the shots, because I really think he's Toronto's future, and he can be. You just need to give him some time.
Toronto, continue tanking, get Cooper Flag, plus quickly. See if you can finesse
plus Barnes, big three. Big two, because quickly is trash.
See if you can finesse a team for Scotty Barnes. Find a GM like this guy, and I think you'll get a great trade deal. And then you can build something. Keep Chris Boucher or give him to the Lakers. I think those are your two viable options. No bias. Bruh. And see if you can build something, because you ain't winning with Scotty Barnes. I can stamp that. I'm more confident in Scotty Barnes being bad than Cade Cunningham being bad.
We'll be back in 1 year. We'll see how it goes.
Let's see. Okay, man. Well, we'll go to break real quick, though. We'll go to break real quick.
Alrighty, welcome back to another segment of the 50-50 show. We are now moving on to our previews of tonight's games. Of course, my name is Omer. I'm here with my brother, Omar. First, we're going to be talking about the New York Knicks taking on the Milwaukee Bucks. Absolutely, showdown of the East. We're going to most likely playoff preview. Bucks, I believe, being fourth, Knicks being third. So they're very close in the standing. Should be a close game. Omar, who do you got? What do you think?
Well, the markets have it as Knicks favored by around 3.5, maybe 4, depending on where you're looking, and the total around 227.5. I'm right there with the market. I have the Knicks winning by around 4. I'm a little lower on the total. I have it at like 226, so maybe there's something there if you looked at my projections, but the main thing is to look at is the gap, right? Like how close I think the game is going to be. One of the big issues with how you mentioned the game would be pretty close, I think it would be closer in a playoff setting because of Chris Middleton. I still have Chris Middleton playing in the mid to low 20s, like 23 to 26 minutes. They've been very careful with him as he comes back off this injury because if he gets injured again, it's over, right? The whole year is over. So if he's playing a low amount of time, I think 4 is fair. If Chris Middleton was playing more, and I think he's one of the best players on Milwaukee, then maybe you're looking at 2.5, 2, and now it's just like a 1-bucket game, right? In this game, Giannis is obviously the best player. But then when New York is deeper. For example, Dame is worse than Brunson. Brook Lopez is worse than Cat. And Chris is still at 23 minutes. I would take him over Mikal Bridges or Josh Hart or a lot of these guys. Even maybe over Anunoby. I'd have to think about that. But he's just not playing enough minutes, so you're not really going man for man there. The main weaknesses for the Milwaukee Bucks and why I think they'd lose this game is Taurean Prince and Andre Jackson Jr. Sometimes people call him Ajax. Ajax is really great defense, but terrible offense. So that makes him overall not a great player. He takes a lot of threes with Giannis. It's just he doesn't really do much.
And he's streaky, though.
He's streaky.
He couldn't shoot 40 to 50% on any given night.
Yes.
Because the willingness to shoot,
yes, and he slows the pace down if he's not streaky. Sometimes he is aggressive, though, for sure. And Taurean Prince is just overall mediocre. I mean, if you watch the Lakers like I did every game, you already knew that. But I'm not even saying that like from a bias, hate, anything like that. Like, he's fine. He's not terrible. But when you're talking about a starting player, he's just not that great. Bobby Portis, also, he plays a lot of minutes off the bench. Also not particularly good. So those 3 players, in terms of when you check the box scores after the game, you're going to see the plus minus. When you watch the game, you're going to see some of these defensive matchups like Taurean Prince and Bobby Portis, worse on the defensive end. Andre Jackson Jr., don't be surprised you see 4 points, like barely any shots. He's just, sort of Kyle Lowry type of situation going on. But he does the little things worse than Kyle Lowry because he's younger. I don't think he has that in him yet. And then when I look at New York, I mean, there's just no weaknesses on the starting lineup.
No, starting lineup.
Yeah, you got to attack the bench. Obviously, Campaign, Miles McBride. But they're still good. That's the thing. They're both good. Any Precious Achua minutes, like any of those guys, Landry or Landon, if any of those guys play, yeah, you got to attack those minutes. But Thibs, like, if your starters are out there, his starters are out there. So when his bench is out there, it's the Milwaukee bench. And unless they do a Chris Middleton leading the bench unit or something like that, they're just not really going to be able to take advantage of the New York bench. Mikal had a stinker of a game. I don't know if it was last game or the one before, but he went like 0 of 9. It was just terrible. So if he draws Ajax, it's going to be tough. But I think Ajax is going to guard Brunson. And then Mikal will get the Dame matchup. Dame is a cone.
I don't know if the Bucks will do that. Dame is quite shorter than Mikal.
True, yeah, with the height difference. Yeah, so they might, if they keep Dame on Brunson and then put Ajax on Mikal, then I don't see how Mikal can get his get. It's just a very hard matchup to try to get your revenge in. So then I'm just looking for Brunson, Cat, the regular guys. Brook Lopez will play quite a bit of drop coverage. Cat will probably be shooting some threes. I'm interested to see how Cat guards Brook Lopez because you need paint defense versus Giannis. But Brook also shoots
the floor.
So I think there's some interesting stuff going on there, but I don't really disagree with the market. The only injury question is Gary Trent Jr. He's questionable. He's not very good, and it's honestly probably better for Milwaukee if he doesn't play, but he's not going to move the needle a lot for me, more than like a quarter of a point. So yeah, I'm pretty much agreeing with the market, and that's why I think even though Giannis is the best player, 1 through 5, New York just wins.
So I completely disagree. I think Milwaukee will win. So first things first, I'm looking at Giannis. Of course, I agree he's the best player in the game, one of the best in the league. if the Bucks win, we're going to be seeing a good night from him.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I'll be looking out for is who's guarding him, because I immediately think of OG Anunoby. He's a great defender.
Mm-hmm.
I might want to see him on Giannis, but I don't know if Anunoby – I think there's multiple things with that. First, I don't think Anunoby can keep up with Giannis in transition. So Giannis will get out there and he'll score some points, especially because I don't think Knicks have the greatest defense against transition. Especially if we go later in the game, those starters playing 40-plus minutes, their legs are going to get tired. But
Fourth quarter.
Exactly, but Giannis can go all game, all night.
As he does have 5 children, 6th on the way.
Okay. I was talking about basketball. I'm staying on topic. So that's Giannis. I also think there's ways to get Anunoby off Giannis. The Bucks have the sets. Giannis loves the go screen. He doesn't like running pick and roll, like being the screener. But they do love running that go screen for Giannis, which could get Anunoby off him, get a more favorable match like Mikal Bridges. He's not a bad defender, but he's no Anunoby. So I'm expecting good things from Giannis. And the nice thing is, if Anunoby is on Giannis, I don't think it's enough to stop him. But then who's on Dame? If it's Jalen Brunson, I think Dame can definitely cook Jalen Brunson. I know Dame is not very good at defense, but neither is Jalen Brunson. Let's not get twisted. They're both not good on defense. So I think it's going to be kind of like that cone-on-cone matchup where both will have some pretty good games unless the other team's defensive specialists pick them up. Yeah. But I don't think they can because of height differences and stuff like that. I think they'll be guarding each other. So we're going to see some cone-on-cone violence for sure. And then if we look... So then I want to talk about on the Knicks side, I'm more interested in the big bodega, how he's going to do. Because like I said, I really like his game because he's such a mismatch nightmare. His 3-ball makes it so you need someone quick enough to keep up with them out there. Because if you end up biting pump fake, he's driving right by you. It's a blow by. You're cooked. But then if you get a lighter guy on him, those guys are typically quicker. Well, he'll take you in the post. He'll beat you up and he'll back you down and he'll score.
And then you got that mid range too.
Exactly, because he's skilled. And he's big and strong. So it's a really deadly combination. But I think the Bucks are well suited. I want to see Giannis take on the Cat matchup. Because Giannis, he is laterally quick enough to keep up with Cat on the 3-point line. And in the paint, we know what Giannis can do. He's great vertical, super long, super strong. We know that I think he could take on Cat really well. And I think that's a big part of the New York Knicks offense is the big per. I think Jalen Brunson is their first option. But he's been passing more. He's been facilitating more. Who is he facilitating? Karl-Anthony Towns. So if Cat has not a good game as I'm expecting, because Giannis plus Brook Lopez, mind you, Lopez is also strong. He's strong. He's a real big man. So if you get Cat, basically the Bucks have 2 guys, the 4 and the 5, right? Giannis and Lopez. I think they both can guard Cat. So I think for the Bucks to win, they're gonna have to slow Cat down, and that'll be really deleterious to the Knicks. Because they really rely on Cat for offense. Like I said, Brunson, more of a facilitator role. He gets you buckets, but he's facilitating a lot more. So that's my thoughts on the Knicks side. Next, we have for the Bucks, I really like Middleton. I think he should be playing off the bench. I think injury-wise, he's been coming off the bench, but I think that might be where he's best suited. Because those ankle surgeries have really robbed him of the player he was. 3-4 years ago, he was really good. I think a second option, truly, on that championship run. He was good on offense, good midi-game, good drive, finishing, shoot the 3-ball, and he was an okay defender. But with those ankle injuries, he's not the same player. He's much slower laterally, so his defense is kind of in the toilet. And his offense game, well, I know Middleton, especially going out, watching the Bucks, is a midi guy. He loves the mid-range shot. He's good at it. Not this season. He's not shooting well from the midi. He's getting to the rim less than ever because of those ankles being messed up. Finishing a little worse. 3-point shooting still solid. I'll give him that. He's still a good 3-point shooter.
And passer. Exactly.
He's a solid passer. But all those characteristics, since he's a worse version of what he was, I love that as an off-the-bench spark plug, leading the bench unit, because you got to remember, Giannis is incredibly high usage. He shoots a lot of shots. He has the ball in his hands for a lot of the possession. It can sometimes stifle someone like Middleton, especially because I think Giannis has adopted the higher usage play style with all the injuries Middleton has racked up in the last 3 years since they won that chip. Yeah. So the fit, I think, is worse, and Middleton is worse. So off the bench, I really like that for him. And then also New York has a bad bench. So you have Middleton leading the bench unit. He's going to cook. He's going to fry the Knicks bench. I think he's going to have a good game. I'm expecting a 20-piece, to be honest. It's going to be on efficient numbers. It's just going to be a good look all around. And so, yeah, I really like I'm liking what Middleton will be doing. So keep an eye out for that. And then finally, Ajax, I think he'll be guarding will be struggling. I think he is great on defense, and it'll be important that he's guarding someone like Brunson or even Bridges, or maybe switching on the Cat too, because he's kind of strong.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see what they do. But I think Ajax, good defender, absolutely.
So you got a bit of an upset happening here. You got the Bucks winning,
which is hard to say, because I'm a fan of both teams. I like both of them, but I just think the Bucks can win.
So are you envisioning sort of a high pace, because you mentioned some transition offense stuff, but you also mentioned a lot of defensive matchups slowing Cat down. Are you envisioning more of a gritty, close game? Are you envisioning an aggressive transition game? Or are you envisioning sort of a balanced one because both teams are trying to do both?
I'm envisioning a close, gritty game, especially because the team is such, they're pretty similar in seeding and caliber. I think Knicks, on paper, they definitely look better. But when you factor in that bench, how much that drops them.
But they don't play that bench.
But I know it's Thibs, and it's really about how personally he takes this matchup, how bad he wants to win it, and how much the players are willing to play. But I think the time the bench is on there, the Bucks can get something going, especially Middleton. And I just really like how Giannis is so much better than everyone else on the court, and it's because he's better, right? And those are liable for big games. So I really like what I can see with him, but I'm expecting a close game just because even though the Knicks starting line is really good, I think the Bucks can slow them down. And if the Bucks are gonna win, it's gonna be gritty, it's gonna be close. And because neither team has the highest pace, I think Knicks are one of the slowest paced offenses in the league, and the Bucks, for however fast and run and dunk Giannis is, the team as a whole isn't that much of a transition team. Yeah. So I'm not really expecting high scoring, high flying, but I think it's gonna be close. It's gonna be a good game.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we'll be seeing. I think the Knicks are winning it. I'm surprised, but hopefully it's fun because, like you said, this is probably gonna be the most competitive game and definitely a playoff preview unless Boston knocks one of these teams out early.
Yeah, but they're high enough where I think they can avoid Boston until second or Eastern Conference Finals.
I think these will both fall under contenders.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, that will be that preview, and we'll be right back with the next one: Pacers versus Cavs. Alrighty, so welcome back to another segment of the 50-50 show. We're going to do another preview, this time of the Pacers versus Cavs, another Eastern Conference playoff preview and a matchup we've seen a lot before. So, man, the market has Cavs favored by 9.5, almost 10-point favorites, which is like blowout territory, and a total of 239.5, pretty high. They have it as a pretty offensively high-paced game. Where do you come down on this game? Who do you think is going to win, by how much, and what are you looking for in this matchup, especially when looking towards the playoffs?
For me, I agree with the market. The Cavs are going to beat the brakes off the Pacers. Okay, and here's why. First of all, let's just look at it on a macro scale. The Pacers defense is not good. It is in the bottom half percentile, and it's below average. It's not great. Obviously, you have players like Halliburton, not good at defense. Pascal Siakam, you would think, is good at defense, but no, he's not. He's average to below average, so he's not great on defense. And the other players on the Pacers roster, they're not really exactly defensive specialists or anything crazy like that. Miles Turner, he's okay at defense. He's pretty good, but other than that, no one really stop the offense. Cleveland Cavaliers, on the other hand, are a red-hot offense. I think the number one offense in the league. We saw even with the Oklahoma City Thunder, they couldn't stop Cleveland. So what do we think the Indiana Pacers are going to do? What do we think Spicy P, Tyrese Halliburton are going to do that SGA, Lou Dort, and J-Dub couldn't? And iHeart. I forgot to mention iHeart. Still, the comparison held true. So I'm expecting the Cavs to just beat the Pacers. We look at specifically, I know some talks about D-Mitch being out. Even if I'm going to assume D-Mitch is out, and I still think the Cavs win hard. And the reason for that is because then the ball is in Darius Garland's hand. And I love Garland as a playmaker. His box score stats don't jump out the page at you or dazzle you, but that's because he plays less minutes because his team keeps blowing out other teams. So he sits, which is smart. He cares about winning a chip. He's trying to keep himself healthy. And then additionally, he gets a lot of hockey assists. He's the kind of guy who will throw the pass, but the guy who got the ball will just do an easy, nice hockey pass, right? Hockey assist. I think Garland gets a lot of those. And I just love Garland's vision. He's very much someone who reads the help. He's always his court awareness, tracking players. He's on that. He's in transition. He will throw the ball, and it looks like he's throwing it into the hand of the defenders, but no. He knows his cutter is barreling down to the rim, and he hits it exactly where his teammate can get it, but the opponent cannot. So that's another thing with Garland. His straight-up passing abilities, passing skill is very good. I love what I see from Garland. So him having the ball more, I'm not tripping. I'm not worried. And you still got Mobley, and you still got Jared Allen. Like I said, great front court. So that's that. And then another thing you got to think about, what I really like, is whoever comes in for D-Mitch, I don't care who it is, Karis LeVert, Dean Wade, I don't care, because the beauty of it and the beauty of this offense is everyone knows their role. They know, hit when Garland gives you a pass, the next guy knows who he needs to get it to, right? They don't do stuff like iso ball or anything crazy like that. And that's really D-Mitch's extent as a passer, not making dumb passes or making, selfish plays. I think anyone who comes in for D-Mitch can do that. So I don't think the ball movement will be affected or anything like that. They'll miss his scoring, but he's 22 points per game on decent, actually 40% three-point shooter. He is quite good. But I think even without them, I think the Pacers defense is so bad, the Cleveland will just beat them. I think the Cavaliers have a solid defense, especially with Jared Allen anchoring them. It's really about the Pacers transition. Can they get out in transition and outrun the Cavs? I don't think so. I think the Cavs have a solid defense. They can keep up with the Pacers. And so the number one thing the Pacers have is transition. I think to some extent it will be cut off. So I'm just seeing the Cavs taking this win.
Yeah, I really disagree with you and the market on the entirety of this game. First of all, I have the Pacers only losing by about 5 or 6, maybe 7. I have them losing. I mean, I think they're the slightly worse team, even with D-Mitch out. I think the Cavs have home court advantage.
Yep, they do.
So I have the Pacers losing, but way closer than you have it. And also I'm way lower on the total. I have projected around 230. In general, I've thought that after Spicy P joined, the Pacers' offense got slower because they do less transition offense.
Absolutely.
And their defense you might call him average or even below average. I disagree. I think he's an above average defender. I think he's helped raise that defense to go from like really, really bad, anyone can score on you, to now at least it takes a modicum of effort. They are pretty bad in the paint and the rim area, so Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, they're probably going to feast. Even Dean Wade might get in there. But one thing that's going to happen is if D-Mitch is out, I think guarding Darius Garland is going to become way easier because it's just one guard. And I just think if you can ice the backcourt out, you can beat a front court. Because remember, they've beaten the Bucks with Giannis. Like, they know how to win despite giving up a ton of points at the rim. It's just you can't beat them on both aspects, which I believe the Cavs would do if they had D-Mitch in. Now, you mentioned you didn't care who comes in for D-Mitch. I do care. I think Caris LeVert is a significant downgrade. He becomes immediately the worst starter on the floor. Or not the worst starter, actually, but the worst starter for the Cavs, for sure. He's like a Benedict Mathurin level player. I view Mathurin as a weakness for the Pacers. I would view LeVert as a weakness for the Cavs. That's who they should attack, especially because he's bad on defense. So it's not just worst player. It's worst player and your weakness is defense. I need to see Halliburton attacking him. I need to see Spicy P getting him in mismatches. I just need to see everybody attacking him. Mathurin. And Emoni Bates, or Emoni Bates, I think is how it's pronounced. He is terrible. He's going to play probably 16 or 17 minutes. He's going to have an increased role from the bench if D-Mitch is indeed out. Those are the crucial minutes to me. If Pacers are going to even keep this game competitive, you were talking about with like the Knicks bench, Emoni Bates, every minute he's on the court is a minute the Pacers are arguably the better team. 16 or 17 of those is what I have him at. That's when I need the Pacers to at least keep this game close. Maybe they're down 15, 18. If you see the Pacers come back, I'm really confident it's going to be during the Emoni Bates minutes, and if not, it's going to be on Caris LeVert for sure. One of those two guys. Because I think people are just, in the market and just people in general, are pretty down on the Pacers this year. I think they're around 500, a little below right now, but in general, they've been really struggling for a team who was top 4 seed last year. I just think a lot of it's variance. I still think Halliburton's good, Pascal's good, Nembhard, he's back. He's had some injuries, he's missed some games. He's good. I really like him, and Miles Turner are good. Obi Toppin is good, especially for a bench player. That's an elite level bench player. And then Mathurin has slightly improved, so I want to shout that out. But the big thing for me is with Nembhard coming back and playing, you're going to see almost no Jarris Walker. I don't know if you remember that guy, but I mentioned him in one of our last previews or reviews of the Pacers. He is one of the worst players in the NBA. Again, I say that exaggerate because I'm not really looking at the entire Washington Wizards or the New York Pelicans, but like of teams you would care about. When you look at those 200 players or whatever that would include, Jarris Walker is right down there at like number 196, and he was getting 20, 22, 25 minutes some games. Now I have him projected way lower with Nembhard coming back. He's like third in that rotation instead of second. That's a big thing for me. I could be way off. I could be off market. Or otherwise, I just think people aren't caring enough about that because that's an addition by subtraction situation for me. You're adding Nembhard, taking out Jarris Walker. Without D-Mitch, I have the Pacers as only slightly worse. Now, the reason I still have them losing by 5 or 6 is home court advantage, right? They might be like 2 points worse on even, and then you add the home court, you get into that 5-6 range. If D-Mitch plays, which we don't know because he didn't play last game, and remember, they were even with the Raptors at halftime. Like, they are not some unbeatable team when D-Mitch is out. If D-Mitch is in, then a lot of this changes because LeVert goes back to the bench. Emoni Bates plays pretty much no minutes. And now at that point, I'm agreeing. If I had to guess, the market is sort of confident D-Mitch is in. I'm not confident because I don't know anything about it. So that's where I'm at. But since you were talking with no D-Mitch, I figured we could talk about that same situation. But in general, D-Mitch in, D-Mitch out. I think Pacers are just being a little underrated because their record's not that good. And I understand it's like 40, 50 games. It's not a tiny sample size. But I just look at how I rate these players. I look at the entirety of last season. I think the Pacers are being slept on a little bit. So I think Pacers are going to keep it close. And it's going to be a little slower than people think too. I'm not expecting a 120, 115 shootout type of game. I'm expecting a little lower.
Okay.
Yeah. But we'll have to see.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I do disagree. I did pick the Cavs, but I think you raised some points. We'll have to see.
Yeah, and I think that'll be the end of the show for today. Yep. We're approaching that 2-hour mark. This is the first episode of the 50-50 show. This was streamed live on YouTube, and then we'll break this down into each segment and probably just post the full episode in its entirety. Hope anyone who watches this, you enjoyed it. Let us know any feedback. We're new to this aspect. We're not new to talking sports. We've had opinions and thoughts on players and teams for years. Thought we'd finally just share them. I had a good time.
Yeah, I had a good time.
Yeah, and hopefully you had a good time.
Yeah, exactly. I hope y'all enjoyed. That's episode 1.
And next episode will be tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Have a good one.
See you tomorrow, y'all.